Esteemed chief guest of this one-day international conference, Dr. S. Sankita, Head Assistant Professor, Department of Economics. Senior professors, dear participants. I like to conduct Economics Bishop College for thoughtfully organizing this particular theme. As you know that just we are crossing the pandemic period, yet still there are a lot of cases has been recorded, COVID cases recorded in India. So I think in this particular context, this particular conference has a lot of importance. And as principal rightly said, prevention is better than cure. In this context, when we know the intricacies of this particular health, though one side we talk about the technological advancement, so also another side we do talk about the adversities of technology, and we need to strike a balance between these two. So in health sector, every day we see a lot of diseases are coming. So also medicines are also invented and preventive measures are taking place. So I think there are 4 themes are going to discuss in this particular conference. And one thing that is admiring me is that they mentioned about international conference. I think 2 international resource persons are going to address to you. One person from Malaysia and another person from Oman. Hats off to your department. I congratulate, appreciate the Department of Economics, the head and other faculty members for organizing this. I will also appreciate and congratulate the way in which this particular conference is being organized. Just I had the chance of going through the brochure or the souvenir of this particular conference, and I'm told that more than 60 research scholars have given their article. Shall we give a big applause to the
graduation in the year 2013. She has 13 years of teaching experience in UG and PG and MBA. She has attended 24 seminars, conferences, symposia, and workshops at state level, national level, and international level. She has presented 14 papers in various seminars and conferences. Also, she has published 12 papers in various journals. So far, she has delivered 7 guest lectures in other institutions. She guided 3 MPhil scholars. She worked in the examination committee as subcommittee members from 2006 to 2010. She has been staff in charge of debate club, organizing various activities in the department till date. She is a life member of Indian Economic Association, IEA, at national level, and Association of Economists of Tamil Nadu, AET, at the state level. She has received the Best Teacher Award in Economics in 2013 from AVVMC Pushpam College, Tanjavur. So we are very fortunate to have such a wonderful person, Miss, with us. Hope this session will be quite interesting and useful for us. Thank you all.
It is indeed an honor and privilege for our college that we have got Dr. Sangeeta with us, whose lessons on knowledge can bring an optimistic transition to anyone's life. Please put your hands together and welcome our chief guest to deliver her ideas and thoughts on dimensions of human resource development in India.
A very pleasant good morning to all the dignitaries present in and out the dais, the galaxy of learned professors, academicians, and my dear students for this one-day international conference on prospects and challenges of health sector in India. At the outset, I profusely thank the management, the higher officials, especially the principal sir, the vice principal sir, for providing a very conducive environment, which should be must there in the teaching learning process. Definitely the quality and the quantity of an educational institution is determined by the amount of environment that is provided by the management to the faculty members and to the students. So I love this campus. You have very high-tech pakka infrastructure, and I pray the Almighty that this environment should sustain in the future also. Thank you, sir. And coming to the director come producer of this today's one-day international conference, namely the convener of this conference, Dr. S. Sita Lakshmi Madam, Head of Economics of this Bishop Weber College, Trichy, for hosting a contemporary theme soon after COVID-19. Okay, and she has given a platform to a infant researcher, to me, to discuss inaugural address in front of you. Thank you for the opportunity, ma'am. Next, I thank the organizing committee. Definitely, organizing any program is not very easy. It's an Herculean task. Definitely, the team work has to be appreciated, and I congratulate the team organizing committee members to organize this international conference in a very meticulous way. Thank you. So, coming to my assigned job, they have assigned to give me inaugural address. So I have divided my inaugural address in 3 segments. The first segment is focusing on, as you all know that we are living in 21st century, that too in a very digitalized economy, modernized economy. And in this highly modernized economy, why we give importance to human, why we give importance to human resource development, and why we give importance to human capital. So my first session is focusing on these aspects. Second one is, India has achieved a tremendous growth in health sector, okay, in spite of its diversities. Definitely, we have a heterogeneous population, and to achieve something, a big thing in this heterogeneous population is not very easy. If you take other developed countries, if you take the American economy, or if you take the Japanese economy, they have a very homogeneous population. Whereas achieving anything in a homogeneous population is not very tough. Whereas if you achieve anything in a very heterogeneous population, that too in India, it's a very Herculean task. And the second segment is focusing on what are the achievements that India has achieved in health sector in midst of its diversities. And the third one is what are the major issues the stakeholders has to do or has to address in order to have a very vibrant health sector in India. Okay, so this is my classification of my inaugural address. Coming to my first session or first segment, namely why we give importance to human or human resource at present in this 21st century. The answer is very simple. The COVID-19 has taught us a lesson that health is the centerpiece of all the activities, whether it is a consumption, whether it is a production, distribution, exchange, whatever be the thing, the centerpiece of every activity of the human is human only. Okay, so if you take when we were facing COVID-19 severity, the entire world was flooded with dead bodies, casualties, and at that time in various countries, the people were just throwing their currencies in the street. They're just throwing the papers and currencies in a hospital, and they were just begging for their life. Okay, so this show that health is wealth. Okay, so this COVID-19 has taught us that nothing is important than health, than the human life. Okay, so when health is there, we can earn any amount of wealth, but vice versa is not possible. Okay, so this is a simple, real, practical incident that made us to give more importance to human. Okay, so this is a practical example. Coming back to the second aspect, why we give importance to human resource or human capital. Okay, so human resource is a synonymous words for human capital. So capital or resource is nothing but the skill, talent of an individual is the resource of that individual. Okay, and the process of developing these resources is known as human resource development. Okay, and but we are not using the word called human resource at present. Equal to that, we use a quite high-tech word, namely human capital. Okay, so the human capital was coined by an economist, T.W. Schul, and it was popularized by various economists, namely Mark Bloch, Mincer, Jacob Mincer. And at present, we are keen interest in developing this human capital. For example, if you take the early growth, you can run the PPT. Next one. Okay, fine. So the early growth models of various countries could not give answer to what are the major factors that is contributing to economic growth. For example, the World Bank conducted a study for 192 countries, and they came to a very striking result. The interpretation was the economic growth was possible to the extent of 16% because of physical capital. So physical capital contributed to economic growth to the extent of 16%, and natural resources contributed to economic growth to the tune of 20%, whereas remaining 64% was unexplained. They were unable to find out what is that 64% contributing to economic growth. Okay, so when they did a research, at lastly, they came to the conclusion that the major contributing factor for economic growth and development of a country is neither the physical capital nor the natural capital or natural resources, but it is the human capital or it is the social capital which is contributing more to economic growth and development of a country. Okay, so definitely if you want to move to a developed status, you have to provide a qualitative human capital. Okay, so qualitative human capital is must for economic growth and development. So this is the second point that we give importance to human. Fine. Coming to the third, why we give importance to human resource development or human resources. If you take before 1990, we know that in the world we have 198 countries. Okay, some countries are developed country, some countries are developing country, and some countries are underdeveloped countries. So India comes in developing category. Okay, so this classification of countries were made based on the per capita income of that country. Okay, so this is a normal criteria that was adopted by the World Bank to segregate the nation in 3 categories. Okay, so if a country's per capita income, if a country's per capita income is below $4,000, that country is designated as a underdeveloped country. If a country's per capita income is ranging between $4,000 to $12,000, then that country is developing country. And if a country's per capita income is about $12,000, then that country is a developed country. So this classification based on the income, that is per capita income, was done before 1990. Whereas after the publication of first Human Resource Development Report by United Nations Development Program in the year 1990, now we are not classifying the countries on the basis of this per capita income, whereas we are classifying it is on the basis of Human Development Index. Okay, it is of a recent origin, and it was constructed by 2 economists, one from Pakistan, namely Mehboob Hullat, and one Indian economist, namely A.K. Sen. Okay, so these 2 personalities are responsible for constructing this Human Development Index. So at present, the World Bank is classifying the countries on the basis of the score marks secured by various countries in this HDI. Okay, how to calculate this HDI? It's very simple. You have to provide a data. The country has to provide a data on 3 important parameters. One is the life expectancy, second one is the gross enrollment ratio, and third one is the per capita income. So based on these 3 parameters, the UNDP calculate HDI score for each and every country. And if a country is securing more than 0.8, normally the HDI value ranges from 0 to 1, like a probability value. Okay, if a country's HDI value is approaching towards 1, it means in that country, the health is pakka, the education level is high, and that country is having a very prosperity in per capita income. Whereas if a country's per capita HDI score is moving towards 0, it means in that country, these 3, namely health, education, and what income is very low. Okay, so if you want to construct this HDI, you have to just supply the data of health, education, and per capita to this UNDP. So if a country is scoring more than 0.8, it means that country is a developed country. If it is ranging between 0.5 to 0.8, it is a developing country. And if a score is below 0.5, it is an underdeveloped country. Okay, so at present, we follow this criteria, namely HDI score, to classify the countries in 3 categories. Okay, now we have to see what is the status of this HDI of India. Taking the first one, previous slide, previous one. Yes. So what is the status of HDI in India? As I told you, HDI is a mixture of what? It is a social sector or social criteria and the economic criteria. Okay, so when a classification of country is done based on this HDI, what we can assess is that we can tell what is the status of the country, and we can tell what is the standard of living of that country, people in that country. Okay, so when you classify based on HDI, we can say the standard of the country as well as the standard of the people in that country. Okay, so this is what the UNDP is doing at present. Okay, so if you take the status of India in health sector, which is measured in terms of life expectancy. So life expectancy is one of the measure of health. By seeing that health, life expectancy, you can just say what is the pulse or what is the health system in that country. So if we take today's India's life expectancy is 69 years. And whereas if you take the world life expectancy, it is 72 years. Okay, so what thing we can interfere from this data is that when compared to world life expectancy, India's life expectancy is far below. We have to travel a long distance to achieve that average life expectancy of world, which is 72%. Okay, and if you take the education sector in India, though we are the third largest educational provider in the world after to China and USA, still in India, the literacy rate is only 74%. This is the pathetic condition, 74%. The government is taking all steps to boost up this literacy rate. For example, up to 12th, they are providing free education. Up to 12th, they are providing what we call as free textbook, free books. Everything is provided free of cost. Even after providing everything at free of cost, the India's literacy rate is only 74%. If we take the other developed countries, they are come to close to 100%. Okay, so in India, we are having literacy rate of just 74%. This is one side. If you take the gross enrollment ratio, that is gross enrollment ratio is nothing but number of students admitted in each classes. If you take at the primary level, the gross enrollment ratio is 96%, quite satisfactory. Whereas the gross enrollment ratio at the secondary level is only 73%. Okay, so gross enrollment at the primary level is 96%. And the same students, when they move to secondary level, it is only 73%. And the movement of the students from secondary to higher secondary level it is only what? It is only 27%. Okay, and to at the research level, it is only 1%. So stage by stage, the gross enrollment ratio is declining in India. At the 1% we have in the research, only 1% of the students who complete their collegiate education enroll themselves in research. So this is the gloomy side of education sector in India. So in India, we are having aided section, we are having private, all the things. The government is providing pakka support to boost up the education standard of the people, of the students. But the interest has to come from the students. Okay, so the gross enrollment ratio at the primary to secondary to higher secondary to collegiate to research is deteriorating. At the top, it is only 1%. So in India, the HDI score is very low. Out of 189 countries, we have secured 131 place. Okay, so the place of India in HDI is 131. So we have to travel a long distance in health as well as in education. Okay, so this is the first segment, namely why we give importance to human at present. Going to the second segment, if you take, you can do a research, not only research, a small research. You just take economic per capita income has a dependent variable. Okay, if you take a per capita income has a dependent variable, and if you regress, or if you take the two independent variable, namely life expectancy and the gross enrollment ratio, you can see a positive correlation between these three variables. If in a country's per capita, if in a country's life expectancy is increasing, education level is increasing, in that country, the per capita income will increase. Okay, so you can have a small research over this secondary data. Okay, so you just do it, fine. Next one is the second aspect is what achievement India has achieved in health sector in spite of its diversities. Okay, so you all know that the important or a very famous phrase of India is unity in diversity. Okay, so we have a diversified culture, and in this diversified culture, achieving a thing is not very easy. Okay, achieving a thing is not very easy. Let's see what are the diversities, major diversities we have in India. So, for example, the first diversity is that the Constitution of India has recognized 22 official languages. So in India, when George was doing the when he was doing the enumeration of number of languages At that time, in 18th century, he found 179 official languages. But the constitution has made that we are not having 175 languages, but it is only 12 languages we have, 22 official languages we have, and we have 6 principal religion in India. Okay, and this religion, the faith, belief of religion is affecting, it has an impact on the healthcare choices. For example, if you take in Hindu religion, they will not prefer to go to hospital in the days of Saturday or in the days of Wednesday. So that is the belief of Hindu they have in the health. If you take in some religion, abortion is totally banned. In some religion, population control is very sinful. So in India, the government cannot introduce a single health policy which will satisfy all the religion. Okay, which will satisfy all the religion. For example, if you take when Mrs. Indira Gandhi was doing his for winning the election, when he was doing the campaign, he made a slogan that if I elected as the PM of this country, the next 5 years I will control the population. Because of this statement, he lost the election. Okay, because in Hindu or in Muslim or in Christianity, population control, they feel that it is a sinful activity. So in this diversity, India has achieved a tremendous things in health sector that we have to see in the next thing. Okay. Second diversity that India is having is we are having it is a land of diversified geographical area. Some areas are plain, some are hilly areas, some are forestry, some are having climatical condition is very hot, some are very cool. So we have a different geographical area, and providing in health infrastructure in this different region is highly impossible. Definitely, if we can construct a hospital or a primary health center in a plain area, construction is very easy in a plain area rather than constructing a health facilities in a very hilly area or in a mountain area. Okay, so even if the government is constructing the health infrastructure in a hilly area or in a tropical area, whereas the skilled personals are finding it too difficult to work there. Normally, doctors won't prefer to go and work in a hilly area or in a very remote area or in a very tribal area. Okay, so this is the difficulties that we have in the health sector. But in spite of these difficulties, India could achieve a tremendous growth in health. Okay, so this is the second diversity that we have in India. Coming to the third, which is very important, namely, India is a democratic country. It has a different polity. For example, if you take in USA, they have only 2 major ruling power. One is ruling and other one is opposition. If the ruling party is Republican, the opposition will be Democratic. If you take in China, there is no opposition party. Only one ruling party, that is CCP, Communist Conservative Party. Only one party they have. Whereas if you take in India, we have 12 recognized political setup. Okay, at present, at the top, we have the BJP, and at the opposition, we have the Congress. And in the state level, we are having so many mushroom political parties are there. Okay, and unless and until we are not having a smooth contact between the center and state, definitely fund flow will not be very favorable to the state government. For example, I should not, as an academician, I should not insist on this one, but this is the practical thing. If you take one lively example is, the government of India has approved the construction of 23 AIIMS colleges. Okay, 19 are functioning, 4 are under construction. But to our beauty, but to our pathetic, none of the AIIMS college is sanctioned in the southern region. Now only we got the sanction in the Madurai. So this is the thing. So if the state is having a cordial relation with the center, then we can get everything from the center. Whereas if you are not having cordial relation, definitely we will be land up in a very in a pathetic condition. Okay. So in these are the 3 major diversities that the India is facing. And in spite of these diversities, India has achieved a tremendous thing in health sector. But we have to acknowledge the government, whether it's at the central level or at the state level, whatever be the thing, we have to do a pakka acknowledgement to the government. Without the government cooperation, this much of achievement in health sector is highly, highly impossible. So let's see what are the achievements that we have done in health sector. Next one. Yes. So the first milestone that we achieved in health sector is we have totally eradicated the polio from India. Okay, so this Pulse Polio campaign or the Pulse Polio program was introduced in 1995. And it is the immunization of children from 0 to 5 years. Okay, so the last case of polio was reported in the state of West Bengal in Howrah. And from 2011 till date, we have not reported any case with the polio. So the WHO, the World Health Organization, has declared India as a polio-free country from 2014. So yes, it's a major milestone that we have achieved in the health sector. That is, we have totally eradicated the pulse polio from the India. Okay, so and this is all because of government only. Okay, they have done a very vast campaign or immunization program, and they have given a vast publicity about the awareness of immunization of children with polio drops. Okay, so we have to acknowledge the government for taking this a severe action to eradicate polio from India. Second one is that we have contained various diseases. We have contained various diseases in India, and one of the notable diseases is leprosy. Okay, so leprosy is contained in India, and we don't have any cases with the leprosy. Third one is, as I told you, there is an increase in life expectancy. When we got independence in the year 1947, at that time, the life expectancy of Indians were 32 years. So life expectancy is nothing but the average living years of an individual. How many years an individual can live in his lifespan? Okay, so the Indian lifespan is 32 at the time of independence, but now there is a growth in the life expectancy from 32 years to 69 years. So within India, yes, we are in the comfortable zone, whereas if you compare with the other developed countries, we are lacking far behind in them. Okay, so the third achievement that we have achieved in health sector is increase in life expectancy. Next one is the mortality rate or the death rate. Okay, the notable one is a decrease in IMR rate. So IMR rate is nothing but the infant mortality rate. That is number of children dying before reaching the age of 1. Okay, so this is, if you want to know what is the standard of health in a country, just know 2 important indices. Namely, you just check what is the IMR rate of that country and what is the MMR rate of that country. If these 2 are at the minimum level, it means that in that country, the health system is very vibrant. And if these 2 indicators are very low, it means in that country, the health is not very good. Okay, so the pulse of the health is ascertained with the help of IMR rate and the MMR rate. So IMR is very crucial. IMR is very crucial. It is a number of children dying before reaching the age of 1 is IMR. So in India, the IMR rate at present is 30 for 1,000 live birth. Okay, if 1,000 children are newborn is there in this month, how many children are alive to next year? Okay, so before reaching the age of 1, and at present the rate is 30. Whereas the notable thing is that very ironical thing. If you take with regarding to southern state, namely Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra, Telangana, and Karnataka, in these 5 states, we are below to 29%, 30. Okay, we are below to 30. For example, if you take the state of Kerala, in that state, the IMR rate is only 6. Only 6 children are dying before reaching the age of 1. If you take the state of Tamil Nadu, it is 15. Namely, 15 children are dying before reaching the age of 1. Okay, fine. So when compared to other new state, namely North, East, West, when compared to these states, the education level in southern state is high. So we are having a very satisfactory IMR rate. Whereas the ironical statement is that with regarding to this IMR, if you take the northeastern state, namely the state of Sikkim, you take the state of Mizoram, and you take the state of Nagaland. they are having their IMR rate is in single digit, namely 5, 3, and 3. Whereas the irony is that in these states, the health infrastructure is not up to the standard. They don't have even the PHC, public health centers. Whereas in that state, the IMR rate is far below when compared to a developed state like Kerala or Tamil Nadu or southern state. The government is doing a research in this aspect, how it is possible for these 3 states to have a very low IMR rate and still they are unable to find out the answer for it. So as a budding economist, as a budding researcher, you can do a research in this. Why in the states of Sikkim, why in the states of Mizoram, or why in the states of Nagaland, the IMR rate is very low. Okay, in spite, they are not having a Pakka health infrastructure. If you take in, if our IMR rate is single digit, then it's of no beauty because we are having a Pakka health facility, multi-speciality hospital is there. So yes, it is possible to have a IMR rate in single digit. Whereas in the states of this Sikkim or Mizoram or Nagaland, they're not having a Pakka health facilities, but in spite of its difficulties, their IMR rate is only 3 or in a single digit. So you can take up a venture why in these states, the IMR rate is very low. Okay, fine. So this is the third achievement that we have made in health sector. The fourth one is a decrease in MMR rate, a decrease in MMR rate. This is MMR rate is nothing but the maternal mortality rate. Okay, so it is a maternal mortality rate, which means number of women dying at the time of delivery due to delivery complications. So in India, at present, the MMR rate is 113. Okay, for 1 lakh women, 113 women are dying at the time of giving birth to a child. Okay, it is a very pathetic. We are living in a very modernized economy, that too in a very, a 21st century means what? Everything is computerized, digitalized, everything is modernized. We are having Android phone. Whereas you just see the case with the women. 113 women are dying when they are giving birth to a child. It's a sorry state of affair to a country. Okay, so it means that if a country's MMR rate is high, it means the women are not given importance at the time of their delivery, or they are not giving due importance with respect to nutrition. Okay, and here with regarding to this MMR rate, the Bimaru state refers to what? It is the Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh. These 4 states are contributing to the 90% of MMR rate in India. Still in these states, the IMR rate is above 130 per 1 lakh women. It's a very, 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 very sorry state of affairs to the government of these states. Okay, they have to take some program to combat this MMR rate. Definitely MMR rate and IMR rate should be 0. Minimum should be 0. Whereas in India, we are in the 3 digits. If you take in other developed countries, they are in a single digit. Okay, so these are the things, though, but when compared to when this MMR program was introduced in the year 1930, at that time, the MMR rate was 350 per 1 lakh women. Whereas now the rate has deteriorated, decreased from 350 to 113. It's a good sign of development, but we have to work still more to reduce this MMR rate. Okay, fine. Next one is the decrease in MMR rate is solely responsible because of increase in institutional delivery. Okay, so institutional delivery is nothing but number of women who is giving birth to a child in a hospital. Okay, in olden days, normally they used to give birth to a child at home itself. Okay, wherever they are working, they used to give birth to a child. Whereas because of that, if a woman is giving birth to a child at home or in non-institution, definitely the MMR rate will be more. Okay, so the decrease in MMR rate is because of increase in the institutional delivery. Okay, so the institutional from 40%, at present 80% of the women are giving birth to the child in the hospital or in some other institution. So this is the main reason why we have a decrease in the MMR rate from 350 to 113. Okay, so thanks to the government, because of the government, the MMR rate at present, we are having only 113. And the sole reason is because of spread of hospitals, public health centers, and community health centers in nook and corner of the India. Okay, so we have to acknowledge the government for their active role in decreasing this MMR rate. Okay, so these are the achievements that we have made in health sector, and the ultimate credit goes to government only. So we have increased the life expectancy, we have decreased the IMR rate, we have decreased the MMR rate, and we have increased the institutional delivery. Okay, so this is the achievement that we have made in the health sector in spite of diversities in Indian character. Okay, next, going to the last segment, namely, what are the major issues that we want to address still if we want to have a very vibrant health sector in India. Okay, so the first and very important major issue is that in India, we are having paucity of skilled personnel. We don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough nurses. Okay, if you take the WHO, the World Health Organization has recommended a standard that for 1,000 patients, nearly 2 to 3 doctors should serve. Whereas in India, it is only what? It is only 0.7, not only 1. Okay, so the doctor-patient ratio is very low. In India, it is 1.3 per 1,000 patients, whereas the WHO is recommending that it should be 2 to 3 for 1,000 patients. Okay, as you all know that India's population is what? It is 1.38 billion. And the doctor ratio is 1.8 million. The population is in billion, whereas the doctors are in million. Definitely, there will be a mismatch between population and the doctors. Okay, so we want doctor ratio is recognized only when we have a pandemic or epidemic. Okay, so for example, when we faced this pandemic, at that time, the paucity of nurse and the doctors were made a hectic problem to combat the coronavirus. Okay, so to combat the pandemic. So when we have a surplus doctors and pharmaceutical staff members, definitely we can face any kinds of challenges that is coming in the health sector. Okay, so we have to gear up the ratio of doctor-patient ratio if we want to have a very we want to have a very strong health system. So the first major issue is that we have to increase the health doctors personnel numbers in India. Second one is that in India we don't have much hospitals and bed. Okay, we don't have much the patient load is high, whereas the intake of these patients in hospital counting is very less. For example, if you take in total, we are having 65,000 hospitals in India, and we have, and if you take the bed patient ratio, it is 0.7 to 1,000. It means what? The 1,000 patients are treated in a single bed. Okay, so we don't have much bed facilities in India. Okay, so the patient bed ratio is very low, and it is only 0.7 to 1,000 beds. Okay, for 1,000 patients, we have only one bed, or 1,000 patient is treated in a single bed itself. Okay, so that is the ratio, patient and bed ratio. Okay, so that is a second major issue that we have to address. Suppose if we have any epidemic like the pandemic that we faced today. Third issue is that we have a wide disparity within India, and we have a wide disparity between rural and urban population. Okay, so the accessibility of the hospitals or related things in urban is more when compared to rural. Okay, so the rural people are not having access to health or pharmaceuticals. They have to go a long way to get accessibility to these things. Okay, so there is a wide disparity between within state and between rural and urban area that has to be addressed very rigorously. Third and the fourth and the very important one is that still in India, we are just spending less than 1% of our GDP towards health. Okay, for example, if the total income of the country is 100 rupees, from this 100 rupees, we are spending not only even 1 rupee, we are just spending 70 pies to health. Then how it is possible to achieve so many things in health sector? So the government has to allocate a huge amount towards health in order to have a very pakka health system in India. Okay, so the government should spend more amount of GDP towards health and development. So this is the fourth one. And at the same time, in India, we are having normally 60 to 70% of the health expenditure in India. The Indians are backed from their own pocket. Okay, from their own pocket, they are bearing it. The main reason is that we are having the public hospitals, but the people are not having faith in public hospitals. Okay, even for a small cold or a fever, we go to private hospitals. So it is the duty of the government to have a very quality health system in India, so that the out of pocket expenditure is reduced in India. So these are the major issues that the government or the stakeholder has to address if we want to have a very vibrant health system in India. So with this, I once again congratulate and thank Madam, the convener of this one-day international conference, for providing me this prestigious platform. And I wish the conference to be a great success. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your precious words. The stage is set for anyone with questions regarding the speech. Students, do you have any questions?
Good morning to everyone. Myself, Sneha Kumari, MPhil scholar, Annamalai University, Department of Economics. Ma'am, first I had a question that as we know, being from Asian country, other Asian countries like Japan and China and South Korea much developed than us. But recently study is saying that people are not willing to get married. People are not willing to get a life. That means having a child. Ma'am, how is this going to affect that country very soon? Because as we are seeing in China, as they have implemented one child, but now recently they have come up with 3 child, because that decision has made China being the oldest population now in Asia. So how is this going to affect in South Korea and Japan? And ma'am, recent studies also saying that thing is also entering in India. Youth in India are also considering not to having a baby, not to having a marriage, because it is an expensive way of raising a child. So how is this going to affect a human development index, ma'am? Thank you.
Thank you. So in India, as you all know that in the world we are having 198 countries, and India is blessed with the youngest population. Okay, so we call that youngest population as a dividend population. Okay, whereas if you take the other South Asian tigers, namely Singapore, Taiwan, South Korea, and Hong Kong, in there the geographical area is very limited. The first thing is the geographical area is limited. And at the same time, the recent report, if you take the last week IMF report, some countries have given incentives to increase their child birth. Okay, so if you take, as you said, that in China, in order to combat the population, the government introduced a very strict policy that one child. Whereas at present, and if they are having more than one child, all types of facilities which is provided by the government will be cut off for that family. So that was the thing that was introduced in China. Whereas with regarding to this Singapore or in Taiwan, in that country, the government is giving some incentives that you have to if you have more than 2 children, because these countries are moving towards old age. Okay, so their population is concentrating on old age, and they are not having a young generation. And if they don't have the young population, then the entire economic activity will be in a downswing. Okay, because if they don't have the young generation, they don't find the market for their commodities. Okay, so why the other countries are targeting India is that for their to sell their commodity in India, because in India we are having the youngest population, and selling a commodity in this youngest population is easy. Okay, if you take in China or in USA, their population, oldest population, very old population, anything innovation is not possible there. Okay, so in these countries, the government have taken initiative, and they are giving some types of incentive in order to boost up their what level, this child birth level or fertility rate. Okay, so that is the thing. Fine.
Ma'am, previously we were comparing developed countries hospital and our nation hospital. But I have a doubt. In developed countries like USA, they charge monthly 14% health service tax from each citizen. And in Canada, they charge 9% health service tax each month from your salary. Cutting off 14% of your salary in monthly basis. You can imagine, 30 years of experience in life. As an economist and a mathematician, you can calculate. And when you deposit that money in bank, it will be soon be doubled. So they can provide that much health facility without a doubt. But we should not compare it with our own nation's hospital, because we are not charging a rupee for health services from our citizens. If you think we are putting money from a pocket, they are doing the same. They are also putting the money from a pocket, but in different way, they are putting it in a tax. So both of them are putting from their packet only. Government is not providing anything in free in both the nations. And our nation is giving something in free, according to me.
So the first thing is that you should not compare, or you cannot compromise health with money. Okay. Suppose if you are affected, suppose if I am affected with COVID-19 virus, at that time, I just see to save my life at any cost. Okay. So that is there in US or in Canada. That country has a different political setup. That country is a capitalist country. Capitalist refers to what? Survival of the fittest. If you are fit, you can survive, otherwise you have to perish. So that is their slogan. Whereas with regarding to India, our country is a welfare oriented. Okay, so the end of everything is welfare. In other countries or in capitalist country, everything is, each and every price is determined by demand and supply. Whereas in India, each and everything is priced by the government. Whatever government is charging for diesel, petrol, we have to just take it. Okay, so it is not an open market economy. So whereas in India, still, as I told you in the last part of my major issue, still in India, 60 to 70% of the health expenditure is backed by the individual from their own pocket. Okay, so when it comes to the matter of quality, health, the Indians are preferring go to the private hospital rather than the government hospital. Yes, we are having all types of specialty equipments in the public hospital, but the people, as I told you, the first diversity in India is that we don't have a belief in the private government hospital. We have a more belief in the private hospital. Okay, so in India, the out of pocket expenditure is high with regarding to health sector. Okay, so similar to the capitalism, we prefer private hospital rather than the public hospital when it comes to your life matter. Okay, so that is the thing.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
question is posted
Excuse
by
me,
Dr. Doris Padmini. She is the resource person for the next section. She has asked, can the use of traditional medicine help to reduce the cost of medicine in India? That's her question.
Yes, in India, we have the department called Ayush, that is Ayurvedic, Unani, naturopathy. Definitely, but it's like a diplomacy. Okay, so in India, the government is not giving approval to these medicines of Ayurvedic, Unani, Siddha, naturopathy, whereas they give more importance to allopathy, that is English medicine. Okay, so it's like a gambling or it's a business. So if we give approval to these traditional medicine, definitely the cost of the allopathy medicine will come down. Whereas if that is coming down, the business giant cannot mint money with the health side. Okay, so in India, if you take consciously, yes, it will reduce the medical cost, but the government is not giving approval to these traditional medicine. It is not giving approval to these traditional medicine. The only thing is that they want to mint money with health. Okay, so
I would like to clarify with what our student, or which class now, or from our college? Yeah, okay. So dear friends, many of our, first BA economics, nice. Many of our past students, many of relatives and friends are working abroad, plenty. Even I myself worked for almost 4 years outside. If you take feedback of the Indian expatriates, is it okay? Born in India, after education, they have gone out to work there, settle there. They've been there for 20 years, 30 years. Some are in Australia, some are in New Zealand, some are in European nations, many are in US. The United States of America. If you take tax deduction, varies from state to state. New York State is more than California State, like that. It depends. And of course, they pay more tax, but they're happy. Nobody is complaining. Is it okay? My own cousins are there. My sister is in England. Is it okay? They are not complaining about. Of course, they feel sad when they cut tax. They have very good education. We have 2 alumni chapters in New Jersey and in California. We have close to New York. We have an old student chapter, and close in a place called San Jose in California. We have our alumni chapter. They're very happy. Is it okay? See, let us say if you are in Trichy, let us say if you are in Puttur area, you can't study in St. Joseph's College, you have to study only in Bishop Weber College. So they made like that. System is good. Thing is, don't think losing your money is a loss to us. Not at all. Then we are wrong. Losing your money is a gain to us. Please remember, gentlemen, it would be economics. Is it okay? Mother is losing everything for us. Does she feel she's at loss? No. See, that's a God-given concept. See, anyway, we may be economically strong, but we are created by the Lord. There are some principles. We are coming from different religion. Is it okay? They're always there. If you violate that one, it becomes. Is it okay? When I say character is lost, everything is lost, anyone disagree this? When character is lost, everything is lost. Anyone here, is it who disagree this? No one. Wealth is lost, something is lost. Obviously. Suppose we have fever today. You feel something is lost, you can't listen. Is it okay? You can't interact now. Something is lost. Suppose your wealth is lost, nothing is lost. Anyone agree here? No, do not know. See, take former President Abdul Kalam. What kind of wealth he has for the family? Nothing. Did not marry. What was his property? 2 suitcases. Full of books, 1 suitcase. Another one full of clothes, old clothes. Now we are talking about him. Take our 4 great-grandfathers. What they left for us? Nothing. They left only the blessings. Is it okay? Thing is, how we can, is it okay? How we spend the money, that is most important. Somehow we can also get that because as Madam said, it's a big country, very big nation, very big nation. Is it okay? All colleges are not equal, though we have the same syllabus. Now, if you take economics, BA economics, let us say Bishop Weber College, BA economics from American College, Madurai, BA economics from Scott Christian College in Nagargoil, BA economics from Madras Christian College, or BA economics from St. Stephen's, Delhi, almost all are equal. Is it? I belong to maths department. Is it okay? I study calculus in the first year. A fellow in US also study calculus. Is it okay? There is no difference, but okay, almost same. Is it okay? So, dear friends, sometimes, the thing is, we can deduct money, but how to spend, that is most important. Is it okay? So, therefore, anyway, we can't say it's inferior. It depends. Is it okay? Maybe you said they are deducting 14%. We are not deducting. Therefore, you claim, okay, we are better. Is it okay? If you take our status, some, is it okay? They have critically severe disease, but they are unable to contact. They try for 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. Finally, they die. Is it okay? It varies. Even ordinary citizen of the US can get the appropriate treatment. But here it is not so. Is it okay that we should bring it? Is it okay? In those days when I was an NHS officer, so at the time, in 1991, when I was a young lecturer, I was one of the NHS program officers. Our students will go to the GH hospital and help in OPD, outpatient department. In the US, nobody is doing like that. In England, nobody is doing like that. Is it okay? They have their attendants, they have their paramedical staff. Why our fellows have to go and train? Of course, if you are, let us say, if you are doing BSc, let us say, if you're doing certification in healthcare, you can go and help. But students who are in NSS from different majors, they go and help. We go to the street and clean. Is it okay? We have an NSS camp. We go and lay roads. We construct toilets. Is it okay? Anyway, don't worry. Anyway, our nation is a great nation. No doubt about it. Similarly, others also doing well. So it depends. So therefore, that's the reason why I'm saying holistic values are most important. Is it okay? Values are most important. So here our college had a person called Mr. Anthony. He was the hostel watchman. For me also, he was an attender. So okay, when I was studying my BSc Maths here, he was my hostel attender. And he became principal, still he was the attender. He died last year. He's called Captain Anthony. I said, okay, though he was an attender of the hostel, he had a great passion for the college. He gave 100% best for the hostel and for the college. I said, okay, therefore, I consider him sometimes better than most of the faculty members also. I said, okay, therefore, it is different. Life is different. We have to be always positive. That's all. I said, okay, we can't say our country is the best. We can't say our country is the worst. Not like that. I said, okay, only we have to correct ourselves. We have to correct the system. Case by case, we have to make it. I said, okay, deducting 1% is better than deducting 14%, we can't say. 1% deduction, maybe you may not spend. 14% deduction may be spent appropriately. There you may have a gain. So, okay. So, just I want to layman's view. I'm not an economist, I'm a mathematician. Anyway, I just to clarify. That's all.
Good morning, ma'am. This is Subiksha. My question is, we have 5 recession periods in the past. And in addition to that, recently we have, not recently, in addition to that, we have globalization where we have ill culture and ill traditional, food that has been, we have been consuming. But even though we have increase in life expectancy from 32 years to 69 years. So how is that possible, ma'am? We don't follow our own traditional foods in the past 20 or 30 years. But even under a financial crisis also, we are increase in life expectancy. How is that possible, ma'am?
The Indians are having their own strong system, health system, immunity system when compared to other nations. For example, in the USA, if you take this pandemic, in USA, they are having, their lifestyle is entirely different. Okay, their education level is high, their standard of living is high, everything is there. And that country is very spick and neat in everything. They are very particular about hygienic. They are well aware of the hygienic merits. Whereas when compared to that US economy in India, we don't have hygienic. Still, if you take the metropolitan city or cosmopolitan city like Mumbai, Calcutta, there still we have slum people. Whereas if you take, when the pandemic hit the world, the developed countries were vehemently affected with the help of pandemic because of their lifestyle, because of low immunity system. So that is a natural thing. So India is blessed with a natural immunity system. When compared to them, we have a strong immunity. Okay, so the disease fighting is automatically there in Indian people. Okay, so we need not want to be very for this we need not want to be follow a traditional method of food, something like that. Some portion is invisible. For each and everything, we cannot give a theoretical support. Okay, something is very superficial or it is very invisible. That has Adam Smith said, invisible hands of nature. Some invisibility is functioning in India, and that is the thing. Okay, so for each and everything we cannot have. So the Indian system is naturally having a strong immunity than the other countries. Thank you.
Now it's the time for the tea break. I would like to request all to move toward the back side of the room. Kindly assemble back in this room within 15 minutes. Thank you.
immediately the next session we are going to start. The speaker has joined already.
Dear students, those who have taken the tea, please come and occupy your seats. We are going to begin the next session. The speaker is already in the line. She is waiting for you. So those who have taken tea, please come and occupy the seats.
There is nothing more difficult to take in hand or more perilous to conduct than to introduce a great personality to the world. I call upon Uma Maheshwari of 3rd BA Economics to take up on introducing our chief guest, Dr. Doris Padmini S. Selvarathinam, who is joining us virtually.
A very warm morning, everyone, and welcome to session 2 of the one-day international conference. I feel extremely honored to introduce the guest speaker of this session, Dr. Doris Padmini Selvarathinam, who is an associate professor, a renowned academician, and a brilliant teacher. It is a privilege to have her as the speaker for the upcoming session. Dr. Doris works at the Sustainable and Inclusive Development Center, Faculty of Economics and Management, University Kebangsaan, Malaysia. She graduated from Wales Swansea in Britain, and she did a PhD in sociology at University Putra, Malaysia. Her areas of specialization include community development, social impact assessment, social entrepreneurship. She also does research in human development theory, socioeconomics, and indigenous community development. Her recent leading projects include UKM Consumer Club, Economics of Social Policy, and enhancing the B40's well-being through living analytics. She has published more than 15 journal articles. The research work she undertakes, the journals which she has published, shows a commitment and love for research. Finally, she is also a fascinating person, and we are all intrigued today. Today, Dr. Doris is here to equip us with knowledge on the title, Socioeconomics of Healthcare Among Poor. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the speaker with a loud round of applause. Over to you, ma'am.
Your words mean a lot to us, for they carry a lot of wisdom and vision for our future. I now request our chief guest to share her remarks on the topic, Socioeconomics of Healthcare Among the Poor.
Madam, over to you, ma'am.
Ma'am, you have muted your video, ma'am. Ma'am, kindly unmute your video, ma'am. Ma'am, kindly unmute your mic, ma'am. You're not audible.
Please run.
Ma'am, you can unmute your mic now, ma'am. We have.
All right, thank you, finally. Okay, I'm going to do screen sharing. Can you see the screen? Is the screen visible? If the screen is visible, I can continue. Can someone verify that the screen is visible? Right, okay, I can see it on the YouTube. So, good afternoon to everybody. It gives me immense pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Ma'am, we are having some technical issues here. So I request you to wait for a minute, ma'am.
Okay, sure.
Ma'am, you can start with your presentation now, ma'am.
All right, thank you. So first of all, I would like to acknowledge Chief Patron, retired Reverend Dr. D. Chandrasekharan, Bishop of CSI, Tiruchirappalli, Tanjavur Diocese, Chairman and Secretary, College Governing Board, Patron, Dr. D. Paul Dayabaran, Principal Bishop, Heber College, Tiruchi, Convener, Dr. S. Sita Lakshmi, Head of Department of Economics, Bishop Heber College, Tiruchi, and all the esteemed resource persons, and also guests of honor and participants of today's international conference. It goes without saying that knowledge is power. And when we share this knowledge, it becomes even more powerful. We cannot hold knowledge to oneself, but we need to always find ways to be able to share this knowledge. Hence, it gives me great pleasure today to be sharing on socioeconomics of healthcare among the poor, with a special focus on Malaysia. Malaysia enjoys an excellent healthcare system that is graded 49th in the world by the World Health Organization. There are several selected demographic details that I would like to share here. The gross domestic product, or GDP, for Malaysia for 2021 is 85.7 billion. Unemployment rate is at a low of 4.1%. Government hospitals in 2019 numbered 154 only. I know in India it is much more higher. Healthcare clinics in 2019 is 1,000 plus. Private hospitals, only 200 plus. And registered doctors in 2020, we have 74,000, which means, or which translates to 1.66 physicians per 1,000 inhabitants. Registered dentists in 2020 is 11.6 thousand, which translates to 1 to 5,000 in Peninsular Malaysia, and 1 to 11,000 in Sabah and Sarawak. Whereas the life expectancy in 2022, which was calculated in the first quarter, is 76.51. And Malaysia in general is experiencing a very good lifestyle and healthcare system. And I myself can attest to this, as the Malaysian government provides free healthcare for its residents. And if you are registered, even if you are a foreigner, you can get good healthcare with a very reasonable or affordable price. To register, it only takes 5 ringgit, which translates to about 1 plus USD. Now, while medicine is free, admission and surgery fee is based on classification. Classification as whether you are a government officer, private sector, government officer in which section, and what is your ranking. The allocation or the government budget for the healthcare has been increasing over the years. Why it has been increasing? Because the government realizes that human capital is of utmost importance. The esteemed speaker earlier also mentioned this. No matter how much development that a country undergoes. If there is no health, everything is lost. Therefore, every year, we see that, I'm sorry, there seems to be an echo. Right, it's okay now. Every year, there is an increase. There still is an echo. I hope it is okay on your side. So every year, the healthcare expenditure is increased. Whether it is for general healthcare, dentistry, equipments, to provide for the medical personnels, equipments, and medicine itself. Local medicine is also enhanced through R&D, and traditional medicine is also encouraged so as to defray the costing, if there is any, to be encountered by people. In some cases, the local communities have attested that it is much better to use traditional medicine. Now, if a person is using traditional medicine, it has to be traditional medicine that is already validated, endorsed, and certified. Otherwise, if there is any mishap due to the consumption of the traditional medicine, there will be no insurance coverage. Insurance coverage is widely available in Malaysia, but it can be an expensive affair, especially if one is coming from the bottom 40, the marginalized poor, and families that are having many children. Many companies, government agencies encourage insurance coverage. In fact, there is also an incentive for tax deduction if we have our own personal insurance coverage. In fact, some companies even provide free health and medical coverage. Now, this is also an extension of the previous slide, which shows that although there are increased budget for general healthcare, in the past year, there has been heavy cuts in medical care. Why this has happened? This is due to the COVID-19 pandemic that had created a heavy burden on the Malaysian government and the expenses that had to be undertaken. Besides providing free vaccination, free healthcare for those who contracted COVID-19, the government also provided various economic packages to help cut the or to help reduce the burden of economic expenses that one incurs. The cost of living became very high. Many households lost their resource due to job loss or reduction in their income. And this burden was taken up by the government. As government pumped into fiscal policies, on the other side, government also saw a need to reduce expenses in not just in like, for example, the physical expenditure for example, building new facilities, upgrading roads, but also sadly for the healthcare as well. Now, diabetes is a very serious situation and a large and growing pandemic today. This is due to the lifestyle, consumption of highly saturated fats, high in carbohydrates, and content of sugar. This is also displayed by the consumption in fast foods that is not just available globally, but also evident in Malaysia. In 10 years ago, if you went into rural parts of Malaysia, you wouldn't be able to see any fast food joints. But today, fast food availability is very wide, whether in the urban or rural areas. In fact, some of the street vendors are also providing fast food very easily. In fact, the street vendors are providing the fast food at a much cheaper price. And sadly, for the households that are with the low income, they will be targeting this type of vendors. They can easily access burger, lasagna, pasta at a much more cheaper price compared to the normal complete meals that should be consumed by the families. Now, once having diabetes, they say diabetes is the mother of all diseases. This will escalate to other diseases like cardiovascular problem, kidney problem, and a host of other problems. Many are in a limbo, as in, I hear you, but it's not going to happen to me. So when they have this type of attitude, many of the locals are consuming a very high content of sugary products. And although like Indian delicacies, there are also some with a high content of sugar, but in Malaysia, it's not just high content of sugar, but it is also high content of carbohydrates. And in Malaysia, these food outlets are available almost 24/7. You can go out in the night, the street vendors are open. There is no such thing as, oh, we only open 6 hours, we only open 7 hours. Only during the period of pandemic, there was total lockdown and all these street vendors had to be closed. But now, since the economy is opening up, everything is going back to normal. Now, Befrienders is an organization that helps people with stress. This is a diagram that is very, very important because during the pandemic, a lot of people displayed social stress, emotional stress, also psychological stress. This is not to say that before the pandemic, there was no such problem. There has been a huge problem of social stress and also psychological stress. but it was toned down. Even if you ask students who want to register in the university to take up course as a person in the medical line, to be a psychologist would be last in their list. They would say, I want to become a medical doctor, not a psychologist. I want to be a dentist, not a psychologist. But this problem is really prevalent and needs to be addressed urgently. And the issue is not just in urban areas, but also in rural areas. It's not just among the working group, but also among youths and also teenagers and kids. Children who are below 10 years as well. So it's not just an issue of being worried, I have lost my job. But children who have no space to play, no space to voice out their grievances. And this problem is also prevalent among all the different ethnic groups in Malaysia. Malaysia is not a homogeneous society. The majority, yes, is Malay community, followed by Chinese. Indians are today a minority. We are a minority. I say we because I'm also an Indian. And we are a minority together with the indigenous community. Outreach programs for counseling is considerably heavy among public facility. And private sector, the cost for counseling is very expensive. In a religious background, like the church provides a lot of counseling initiatives. I know this because I also am from the background of being a Catholic. Yes, incidentally, I would like to wish all those who are Christians here, happy Easter to you. And happy observing Divine Mercy, which was celebrated yesterday. Now, what are the challenges? You know, I mentioned earlier that Malaysia is very high in the world globally. It's standing in providing medical services. Nevertheless, Malaysia also faces challenges. Geographical accessibility. What is the distance? Is it convenient to get to the hospital or to the dentist facility? To get to the psychologist? Are these services available near to me? Or do I have to travel? What are the transportations that are available? For the transportation, is there a road? Is there a proper road? Is there any bus services? Availability of accessibility through air or water. I know Malaysia is very small compared to India. Nevertheless, we do have some terrains that are hilly, mountains, and it is habited by the indigenous people and also the rural community. The natives also inhabited these places. And another challenge is information, accessibility of information. For example, during the pandemic COVID-19, accessibility of information was very limited for those in the rural areas. Should I get vaccination? Should I not get vaccination? Should I wear the mask or not wear the mask? How to wear the mask? What type of mask? There were so many questions. And this information is available very easily if you are near to a hospital, near to a clinic, in town, in rural area, in urban area. But if you are coming from a rural area, this information is very, very difficult to be accessible. And not all information which is available easily on the internet is made available to the rural community because of problems of digital infrastructure. In fact, during the pandemic, people couldn't go to schools. And accessibility, although everybody said, oh, Malaysia is so advanced, you can just go online, teach online, study online. But there are so many families, the children could not access education. And if you are marginalized because you're an indigenous community in rural area, the situation becomes even worse. So who are at risk? So in Malaysia, if you are in the rural community, you are at a high risk. If you are urban B40, bottom 40, and who are these urban bottom 40? Urban bottom 40 are mostly those who are staying or residing in flats, in government provided flats, or even in private flats. And some of them have jobs, some of them have limited access to any resources. Some of them are single parents or merely elderly people who are living on their own. In Malaysia, begging is not allowed. You cannot sit by the roadside or go from house to house and beg for food or money, because this is seen as soliciting for funds, and some people even make it as a business. So if you are poor, you should be registered as a poor person. It sounds really crazy, but this is how it is. And we have a welfare department, and the welfare department will assess the condition of a person in terms of economic status, social status, health status, and ensure that you have a basic income that is paid by the government. So you will be given monthly some amount to ensure that you can pay for your subsistence lifestyle, for your education, and also for your health. If you are classified in the poor category and also in the minority groups, yes, today many Indians are also in the minority and poor groups. Why? Why? Because traditionally, many of the Indians, their grandparents, great-grandparents came from India and they were working in the plantation sector. So when the plantations were closed, they had to be relocated in poor housing settlements. And many of them did not receive education, or maybe only very limited education. Sadly, women also stand to be at a very high risk category. Why this is so? Because in Malaysia, the patrilineal lineage and also status and importance is also adhered to. This means that If you are a female child, chances are you will be less given priority compared to a male child. This is not 100%, this is not in all families, but the tendency for that to happen is still higher compared to being a male. Even if there is, for example, education. Education is free for all, regardless of gender, regardless of economic status, whether you're in urban or rural area. In fact, parents can be called up, queried, and even punished if they do not send their children to school. Whether you are sending your child to the private or to the government. But in government schools, well, actually, every child is entitled to free education in all government schools. Just pick a school and go to the school. All government schools, it's free education. In fact, if you are coming from the poor community, you will be given some allowance to buy textbooks, your uniform, and healthcare is also provided in schools. Dentists will also come to the school to check the children's dental condition, provide injections. They will ensure that everybody has received their polio vaccination, rubella vaccination. I'm not sure what are the latest vaccinations, but whatever vaccination that Malaysian citizens are entitled to, the schools will ensure that every child receives these vaccinations. And dental care also the same. Every child is given free dental care. So right up to high school, when you finish, everything is free. In fact, when you leave school, dental and medical care is also free, so long as you go to government hospital or government dentistry. Okay, so these are some of the pictures of the community projects that I have been involved in personally. This is a location in the uphills of the Titi Wangsa mountain ranges. From the nearest town, it takes about almost 36 hours to reach the village on a very bad weather day. There's no proper road. And if it is a good weather day, probably the journey is 6 hours. So medical care is very, very limited. Dental care is very limited. So people rely very much on traditional medicine. When we did the basic medical healthcare measurement, we realized that people have very good health care of their own, very low incidences of high blood pressure, diabetes, nil, and very good teeth. In fact, some minor problems that was recorded was due to issues of river pollution and air pollution. But otherwise, on their own, they are able to take care of their health. These are indigenous communities in the periphery of urban areas. So the medical officers are able to go in to give talks, to do basic medical checkup, to check their BMI, their pressure level, etc. We also do profiling. So why this is done? Because we need to go beyond and not just look at the government providing everything. So going beyond means working with partners and not just looking at healthcare, but also looking at education, providing skills, providing light, providing economic programs, financial literacy. Everything is in a ecosystem that one depends on the other. Why this is in a system, I say, because yes, health is important, but if you have excellent health and you do not progress further than that, then you will be just stuck in your current situation. If you have economic well-being, but if you do not take care of your health, or if you do not take care of your eyesight, then again, we will be losing our health. So it is all entwined, and it is also in a cycle. We take care of our health from early childhood right up to adulthood. There is a term today that is known as aging gracefully. That term is very, very true. We have to take care of our health from young. But as a young person, we rely on our parents. So parents have to be well informed and well educated. We cannot justify, oh, I am doing the right thing on our own. We cannot validate an action on our own, but we need to look at what are the indicators that are already available. Indicators, whether it is in the healthcare system, education system, and if you are from a religious background. For example, myself coming from a Catholic background, so I will definitely say no to abortion. So I will also say, take care of your health. We need to look at what are the medical facilities available to enhance our livelihood, to ensure that we can have a good quality of life. If our kidney is failing, I cannot say no medical intervention. No, I have a duty to take care of myself, and I have to get medical care. If I have diabetes, if I have any other health problem, COVID-19, whatever ailment that comes along. So according to my belief, I have to take care of my health. So if you are coming from your own beliefs, you have to utilize that to enhance your health care. Don't look at religion as something that inhibits. Try to find a way that religion can help to enhance livelihood, your healthcare system, your education system, and everything, because education, religion is the foundation for everybody, for society, for families. So this is a model that we came up in 2013, which was very limited actually, but I have already built on it. I have added new indicators, new targets, and measures of the impact itself. So entrepreneurship is basically a tool that I always use to enhance the livelihood and also to bring about community empowerment. But at the same time, I realized that entrepreneurship is not a standalone thing. Entrepreneurship needs to be supported by other elements. And I also look at, coming from the university, I acknowledge the role of students. I also acknowledge the role of lecturers. So lecturers are often synonymous to researchers. We are always seeking data, we want to analyze information, and we also want to do community projects. Today at University Kebangsaan Malaysia, I'm at the Faculty of Economics and Management. Most of my courses are embedding community programs. So if I deliver macroeconomic subject, or if I teach economics of social policy, or if I'm teaching entrepreneurship 101, in my course, I will definitely have an community program. I will get my students to be involved in community projects and transfer the same skills, the generic skills and knowledge that they are learning in the classroom. So why? Our ultimate goal is this, the 17 SDG goals. Community well-being is big. We cannot be doing it on our own. So we need the target community to be empowered directly and also indirectly through the extended family. We need to have training modules. For the training modules, because I cannot be giving something blindly without any knowledge, and my knowledge is limited. I have to work with partners. I have to seek who potential partners are nearest to the community. Is there a church nearby? Is there a mosque nearby? Is there a Hindu temple nearby? Or maybe there is a Buddhist temple nearby. Is there a training center already available? Is there individual entrepreneurs that are successful? So how can we utilize these networks of engagement to bring about change? So we need to sit and discuss. We need to look at what the target community needs. They need medical care, healthcare. If it needs funding, can they provide for this funding on their own? Or can they do an economic activity that can generate income that will provide for their healthcare? So we have mentors, researchers, trainers that are all working in a symbiosis, working together in a big system. And the impact that we are looking at is numerous. These are only a few that I've outlined here. And these are the measurements. So there are tangible and intangible impacts, and evaluation and monitoring is also important because this is a process, continuous process. We cannot stop halfway. Yes, if we stop, we leave and we say, that's it, we can't do anything. We didn't manage to achieve our target. But if you have your targets to achieve, then you can consistently monitor. Are you able to achieve it? Are you achieving it? Are you near to achieving it? Or if you're not achieving it, why? Documentation is also important because it gives evidence. It also will tell people, okay, this is the way to do it, or this is the way not to do it. So we have various stakeholders. Our own vision has to be clear. As a researcher, as the person who is tying up the whole activity, the whole process. And we also need to be able to say, okay, you do this, you do that. So we need to identify programs together, the intervention programs together. It's not a top-down approach, but more of a bottom-up. Or we meet, top-down and bottom-up both meet. And we need to be transparent, clear, audible, loud about SOPs that needs to be in place, steps, procedures that needs to be taken. so that we can achieve maximum what we envision, what our aims and targets are. We need to be not just transparent, but we need to have dialogue. We cannot be doing the project in silo. We cannot be doing the project invisibly, but we need to also be in constant dialogue to let people know what's going on. Otherwise, it'll be just within one particular group. Even the community maybe doesn't know what's going on, because they just receive and receive and receive, and they say, I don't know what's going on. Okay, so monitoring and evaluation is important, but publication of the output is even more important. Sometimes we don't have time. Sometimes the university wants us to do so many KPI publications. So we need to be selective. Where do we want to publish? What do we want to publish? How do we want to publish? Or how do we want to do the knowledge sharing? So there are so many stakeholders. The most popular today is the civil society organization. Just before the pandemic, COVID-19 made its appearance or burst the economic bubble, this was already becoming evident because of dissatisfaction among societies with the way the market is unable to achieve a balance and to be able to supply goods and services at an affordable price. But today, CSOs are even more evident, and their role is evident in the global platforms as well. Their knowledge sharing is so immense, it's so strong, so vibrant, so robust. Why? Because they are loud, they engage, they have a good monitoring system, and they do a lot of networking. But most of the time, they lack funding. So that's where we can always work together. You know, sometimes people say, oh, you are in a foreign land, you can't help us. But we can do knowledge sharing. Sometimes even a small donation will go a long way. For example, Malaysia and India, the currency rate is so different. So even a small contribution from Malaysia will help some small community in India. So there is so many rooms for collaboration as well. So let's not limit our opportunities. So that's all from me. Now I open for any questions.
Thank you, ma'am, for your valuable insights. The floor is open for a Q&A section now. Students with doubts can clear that with ma'am. Students with any doubts can clear that with ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am. So I have a doubt. Like, could you please explain more about how entrepreneurship leads to attain the 17 SDGs, ma'am?
How entrepreneurship leads to?
To reach the final target of the 17 SDGs goal.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the wonderful question. I didn't get your name, but thank you for the wonderful question. Yes, entrepreneurship is an economic activity. So entrepreneurship today has many forms. We have the traditional conventional entrepreneurship. We also have social entrepreneurship. And the difference is whether the initiative pumps back the profit, a certain portion of it for the community, has a social mission to achieve, an environmental issue to address, some problems to solve, or as in the conventional entrepreneurship, as in make goods and services, sell maximum and make maximum profit for individual or several individuals that have come together. Now, when there is social entrepreneurship, I usually like to advocate for social entrepreneurship because the reach is wider and there is job creation, which is evidently part of the 17 SDG goals. When I teach entrepreneurship for my students, like for this semester, I have 4 sets of entrepreneurship students. One, even an international group of students from China. If students from Bishop Heber College would like to participate also, lecturers can let me know. I can definitely help students to set up their entrepreneurship initiatives. So what we do is we form small groups. So students register their business, whether it is formally or informally, that is up to them at the convenience of the community. For example, in Malaysia, students get to register their business formally for free. There is no money involved for registering the company. In China, students are not allowed to register their business because they need a very high collateral. And so in China, the students either sell informally or they just learn theoretically about entrepreneurship. But in Malaysia, the Malaysian students, the other 3 sets, they set up their business formally and they sell products. They sell physical products. For example, they sell cookies, they sell shoes, stockings, some even sell cakes, shawls, dresses, anything that they think has a niche at the moment. And now, since it is a seasonal festivity, well, for the Muslims who are listening, I would like to wish you happy observing Ramadan, fasting month. And next week, it's going to be their Eid festival. So because of this festivity, and in the past week and 3 weeks ago, even the Indians were celebrating the Indian New Year's. A lot of demand for cookies, clothes, items was very high. So students found it very, very easy to put up all this in social media. So we teach them. So when we teach them, we empower them. We empower them about story writing. We also empower them by connecting them to private sector. We empower them, we link them to successful business persons. And we show them the path on how to not just create or enhance their skills, but also to create sales. And at the same time, in terms of gender equality, we do not say that, oh, you are a female, you cannot be in charge of a business. Oh, you're a male, you have to be in charge of business. Everything is equal. So whoever wants to take the lead role takes the lead role because they say, okay, I have a higher merit. I have the higher capability. So in their small groups, they discuss, they voice out, and they come to a decision. So you can see that they are working towards zero poverty. They create opportunities for making income. They are also looking at gender issues, creating livelihood. So all these are part of the Sustainable Development Goals. There are so many other items in the SDG. So each of these can be outlaid in detail for the programs. So depends on which community we are addressing, but definitely social entrepreneurship or entrepreneurship in general can be a tool to help achieve the goals of SDG. I hope this has helped to answer your question.
Yes, mom. Thank you, mom. Thank you for empowering us to be self-reliant. Thank you for empowering the youth to be self-reliant, mom. Thank you, mom. So definitely we'll participate in this in the future, mom. Thank you, mom.
Greetings to you, ma'am. I'm Nandika from Bishop Heber College. Yeah. So
Hi,
I'd like.
Nandika.
Hi, ma'am. So I'd like to ask you that there's a viral concept among free healthcare that it is whether a right or luxury. So what is your view upon that, ma'am?
Free healthcare, whether it's
right
whether
or
it's a luxury, right,
Yeah.
or luxury, right? So whether it's a right or luxury, luxury. What does luxury mean? Luxury means it's difficult to achieve. It is only made available to a particular community or group of community, for the elite, for example, and hence it becomes a luxury. So any item that becomes a luxury has to be something that is not a basic commodity. Healthcare, as we know, is part of the basic commodity that every individual has a right to. And you can see this in statements by the UN, World Bank. So many international organizations has also advocated for healthcare. Now, when they are looking at healthcare as a basic need, this is for basic healthcare. So when you're talking about basic healthcare, it will cover nutrition. So under nutrition, we have to ensure that food, nutritious food is made available, firstly for the community. So everybody in a country should have access to nutritious food, not just any food. For example, if you say, okay, let everybody eat bun. So if you give everybody bun and you say that is sufficient, no. You cannot just say buns and water is sufficient for everybody. But you should be ensuring that nutritious food that does not retard a person, but helps to enhance their thinking skills, their social skills, their faculty of thinking, that goes beyond just the basic condition. So back to your question, whether it is a right or a luxury, I would say definitely it is a right for everybody. Everybody should have access to healthcare. Now, having said that it is a right, every public good has a price, has a cost. So when it comes to cost, there is pricing. So when it comes to pricing, who will foot the bill? Who will pay this bill? Now, this is a very difficult question to be answered if the bill is very high. For example, if you compare Malaysia and India, the Malaysian population is very, very low compared to India's population. Therefore, definitely the price, the cost of healthcare in India would definitely be very much higher compared to in Malaysia. So how can the healthcare in India be covered completely? There is something that is known as insurance, co-insurance, whereby the coverage is shared by the agency and also individuals. So the agency here can be the organization or the government that is providing the insurance care. Like in Malaysia, we have Malaysian Healthcare Insurance, MHI. So maybe in India, a similar situation can be made available. Whether it is 10 rupees, 100 rupees, if it can be contributed and saved and provided for healthcare and made available for everyone, then that is an ideal situation. But as we know, in every community in the world over, the ideal does not always happen. There are people who are poor, who are in the middle class, suddenly become very rich, who are in charge of a lot of bureaucratic duties, suddenly are becoming very powerful. They have access to rules, regulations, money, and suddenly they become power crazy. They become money crazy. So money that is supposed to go for the community, suddenly it does not go for the community. So if there is such a situation, it is going to be very difficult. So transparency is very important in such a situation. So healthcare as a right has to be monitored, has to be guarded by many people, by different stakeholders. We cannot have one entity guarding it and say, okay, I will be the guardian for healthcare, and only I can tell who is eligible to receive this luxury. I hope this has helped.
Yes, ma'am, sure. Thank you. Thank you once again for throwing lights upon it, and have a nice day, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, my name is M.K. Ramanan from BA Economics. I like to ask that, like you mentioned, B40 urban poverty. India also suffers from poverty. And each time whenever our government makes certain decision to eradicate poverty, just because our population increases in rapid rate, every program fails. And the population doubling time of India is too short compared to the developed nation. In next 30 years, the population of India will be doubled according to economics. And we are not prepared for it. We don't have the resources to double our agriculture production, to double it, to meet the future need of our own generation. And our own generation will face famine in future. So agriculture, instead of agricultural land increasing, it is going on decreasing now because of many private organizations. And India is going on reducing the agriculture production and going on other sectors. So it is concentrating on other sector like automobiles and other sector, but we should be concentrating on agriculture. We are taking a different part now. But when they are actually the population doubles, when we don't have enough food, and already our poverty is increasing in a rapid ratio in spite of government's effect, how could we face it? We cannot follow one-child policy or two-child policy like China, because it too has its own disadvantages. Like China already proved it, and now they are suffering from it. So what all the measures we can take to face it?
Thank you for the excellent question. I myself do not support one-child policy. I believe that a family should grow and a family should be the basis of the economy. The family also provides manpower, labor for the economy. The family also provides for demand of consumption. So the family is responsible for the supply and demand in the community at the end of the day. And when we look at it, what pathway are we heading to? Yes, industrialization is important because it gives value added goods very much more value compared to the basic raw materials. But at the same time, we need to balance it. We need to balance it with agricultural sector. We cannot say that, okay, totally close down agricultural sector. We need the agricultural sector. Just like we need human beings, healthy human beings, we need agricultural sector. Because the minute we close down agricultural sector, that means we are 100% reliable on foreign economy for our food. And that will be disastrous because food is basic need. There is no way we can survive if we do not have food and water. This goes hand in hand with healthcare and also education. Now, you yourself mentioned that governments are moving towards high-tech production. This is something that many countries are doing because they are seeing models of the Western countries. But if governments are careful, they would also see a lot of modern countries are going through a lot of challenges today. There is challenges in ideology, political ideology, socialism. There are challenges in terms of what is right and wrong, and what is wrong being said as right. You know, self-validating wrong statements. And there are also situations where conflicts, wars that are happening because of greed. Countries are not looking at how can we balance it? How can we give priority to the human being, which is so basic? The value of life supersedes everything else. So if governments are putting people first, they will be looking at how can I increase production of agriculture so that food can be made available in ample quantity on the table. Food that is suitable for the local consumption. Okay, not food that is said to be good based on foreign culture. For example, if in the Indian culture, idli, dosa, chapati is the basic good food, accompanied by chutney, dal, or if you are non-vegetarian, you're taking your non-vegetarian items as well, then that is what you will be going for. If you are in a foreign land, like in US, food like pizza, burgers, lasagna, macaroni, that is their food, and they will go for it. In some countries, their staple food is meat and bread. But if you are not taking meat, then you need to look at nutritious vegetables, nutritious vegetarian meals that is good for you. And we need, as people who are in the administrative line, need to look beyond today. How can we ensure food security? Now, food security is not just ensuring food is ample, but food that is safe. Food that does not go against, for example, modified food that is harmful for the body, fake nutritious meals that will have side effects 20 years from today. So we need to be careful when we talk about food security. Sometimes we are looking at, how to increase rice production, paddy fields. So instead of once a year you harvest, now you harvest twice a year. And then they come up with new variety. You can harvest 3 times a year. And before you know it, you can harvest it every month. So we need to look back. What is this scientific investigation findings that is producing all these food items? When we buy produce from the market or from the supermarket, from the malls, we want to look at items that are beautiful, perfect. But this does not mean that it is perfect for my health or your health. Sometimes the ugly looking, the imperfect looking in the dirty market has more nutrition. I think the mindset change is very important. Today, our young people, not just the young people, also the working age group, old people like me also, we are being influenced by media. We are being influenced by friends. Because the internet is in our hands. Information is in our hands. We can watch movies from across the globe. Sometimes in a day, I'm watching movies that is coming from South America, from China, from Japan, from India, from US, UK. There are so many languages. Sometimes I turn on the subtitles. Sometimes I switch on the auto conversion to English language. But basically what I'm getting at is there is so many things that is being fed to us, and then we get influenced. Wow, that is so impressive. That is so beautiful. I want that. So want, the key word here is I want. Want is not the same as your needs. Needs is basic. So what is our needs? Our needs does not change. 50 years ago, 100 years ago, today, tomorrow, forever, our needs will always be the same. So we have to remember this. So government officials, when doing their policies, they also need to remember this. We cannot be achieving for, aiming for, I want to be in the moon. I want to create rockets. I want to create, I don't know, whatever capsules. And then I forget I need to eat. When we do not eat, we get sick. Then our life expectancy drops. Mortality increases. And then you don't need to reduce the number of children. Automatically, everything goes down. So where will be at the end of the day? So we need to say, priority is food. India is rich with production of milk, but how far does it go to sustain the community? Or is the milk exported out first and then the surplus is used for local consumption? Priority must be for locals. Provide for the locals first. Milk can also be value added in the industry. Milk is basic for so many other products. You can make yogurt, you can make milkshakes, the famous Starbucks products also use milk. So how do you want to capitalize milk? India is huge. Land-wise, geographical-wise, it's huge. You might say there's problem of water, problem of electricity, but Tirunelveli Valley district also has the wind turbines. Solutions can be found. So we need to think. We need to have more workshops on solving problems. So when more workshops, maybe Bishop Heber College can design the next seminar to be workshop for solving social problems, solving food security problems, and then solve problems in small groups. You know, we always want to think about how can I solve, you know, the country's problem. That is so big. Why don't we think about how can I solve my family's problem? How can I solve my group of friends problem? How can I solve my college problem? How can I solve my university's problem? How can I solve the society that is around my university? If I ask you now, can anybody put up their hand and say, I know the answer? Bishop Heber College. How many Thosai stalls are there around your college? Will someone be able to tell me? How many Chaya tea stalls are there around your college? How many ironing vendors are there around your college? How many fruit sellers are there around your college? How many wet markets are there around your college? Let us be realistic. Do small, aim big. I hope this has helped to solve the question that you asked. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your wise words.
I would like to highlight the fact that community programs can also be enhanced towards medical checkups. For example, eye care, dental care, and general health care. When I say eye care, is because, you know, when you are involved in reading, writing, you need to have good eyesight. And if problems are not solved at a very young age, this will escalate to other problems. Today, babies that are born, some of them have eyesight problems. And when babies have problems and it is not detected, it becomes very difficult for the child. So this needs to be addressed from an early age. Very sadly, eye care is often not taken care of at a young age. Only when they grow to be a teenager, then they look at the eyesight. In fact, in schools, sometimes the teachers don't even notice if the child is not able to read or write because the child cannot see properly. And the child is always getting scolding, is beaten. And then the child does not know that it is a problem because from day one, the child is seeing the world with that situation. So we need to help. We who are adults, we who are youths, university students, you are powerful. University students, your voice is big. I'm sure you can help to bring about changes in society. So please, if you have any more questions, please ask them. Thank you. So I hear that the next resource person is already ready. So thank you. Thank you for listening to me and thank you for all the questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your valuable insights. Thank you.
Welcome.
If your action inspire others to dream more, learn more, and become more, you are a leader. At this juncture, I would like to attribute this proverb to our chief guest because their valuable past make them important today and it will make an impact on future generation. Here comes Yuvraj from 3rd BA Economics to shed light on some of the achievement of Dr. Shad Ahmad Khan, who is joining us virtually too.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank the Department of Economics for this opportunity, and I take immense pleasure right now in welcoming Dr. Shad Ahmad Khan, who's the guest of our. Dr. Shad Ahmad Khan is a dedicated and passionate business management learner who's always open to adapting different working cultures and environments. He holds a doctorate in business administration, an MBA degree, and an honorary BCom degree. He has also cleared NET with excellence. He specializes and asserts his strength in the field of marketing, and he also excels in business law, general management, and soft skills development. Sir has been imparting his skills and knowledge to the industry through consultancy products. He has organized more than 10 international conferences and many other international webinars. He has completed 4 consultancy projects right now and 5 funded research projects under mid-career researcher category. Currently, he is working as a co-principal investigator on a major product on agripreneurship, funded by the Research Council under Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Innovation. He is a recipient of several awards and he is currently serving in University of Buraimes College of Business in the Sultanate of Oman. And he is also the chairperson of Staff Professional Development, Affiliation and Linkages Committee there. Thank you, sir. And I'd like to welcome you and I ask you to please bless us with your words and impart your great knowledge with us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. At the outset, I don't know the time right now in India. It must be afternoon now. So good morning from Oman and good afternoon in India. And of course, good afternoon in Malaysia as well. So it's really an honor and privilege for me to be here today. The time given to me was at 1 hour before. So I was logged in, but it was a great blessing in disguise that I got an opportunity to listen to the words of Dr. Doris Selvanathan. And it was a real privilege for me to reflect on myself that where we are today and what we are doing right now. So it's really a great privilege for me to be here today. At the outset, my sincere regards to Dr. Sita Lakshmi. You are the reason that I'm here today. And thank you so much for coordinating with me and doing all the kind of work and making me present here. My sincere regards to Dr. D. Paul and Dr. Chandrasekharan for patronizing this whole activity. Without any further ado, I'll be going for my presentation. I'll request the host if you can allow me to share my screen so that I can share my PPT as well. So the topic on which I'm going to present today is going to be the future of healthcare, what we are going to do and what are the future skills required in the healthcare sector. So if the host can allow me to share my screen, I'll be sharing that screen as well. So the host, are you going to allow me or should I start without PPT? Anyway, the future skills that I'm going to talk about today, it is very important because what happened in the entire journey so far is that whatever during our childhood, when we were small, there were many things that we used to watch in TVs and movies. And at that point of time, it was always shown that this is a fiction, and it is sci-fi fiction. Now today, those things which were fiction 20 or 25 years down the line, today they all have turned into realities. And that is something that we have to understand now. So with this, let me start my screen. I believe you can share it. It's visible to all of you. Just someone who can confirm whether it is visible or not. So here's my presentation, skills for future healthcare workforce. So I'll be giving this one. Now, while we are talking about this skill, this is very important. Right now, the business models, economics, and whatever we have today, we all have understood one thing, that whatever we have delivered to our students or the workforce, that all has been theoretical. It has no relation with the practical influences on the practical implications. And that is where the skills comes into picture. It's also one of the fact that there are two types of workforce working in the world today. There is one part of population which is working at a very fast pace, developing new technology. And then there is other side, which is majority, more than 95% of the population, which is not prepared for that technology. Just ask yourself, how many of you knew about using this digital platform before COVID? So now when you are using this platform like Zoom, you have to thank COVID somewhere, that COVID made you accept and embrace this technology. And suddenly we realize that, aha, this is a technology that we can use. And this is a technology by which we can invite somebody who is sitting in Malaysia. We can invite somebody who is sitting in Oman right here, right now. And that is going to save a lot of costs. And there are a lot of other implications as well. So the world is changing at a very faster pace. And therefore, the future workforce, they also need to be proactive. We need to prepare our students for the jobs which are not existing today. So that is a challenge which is there in front of the education world right now. And therefore, we need to be very, very proactive. So I will be taking you through some of the things and just talk about these issues which are projected on the screen right now. These are the terms which has emerged very recently. These were not existing in the past. And in the very last, maybe in the last 1 decade, we have heard about these terms. So we have social media marketing now, we have social media influencers, we have the micro celebrities sitting amongst us today, who have the Insta accounts, who have the followers in thousands or millions. We are talking about artificial intelligence, we are talking about work from home, we are talking about ideal customer profile, we are talking about ideal students profile as well. We are talking about Internet of Things. So we are talking about so many new terms now. So what are the future skills? And I will be presenting you what my country right now, the country where I'm working, is doing right now. So we are working on Oman Future Skills Framework, and these are the two gentlemen who have been given the entire credit. They are they are credited for the Oman Future Framework that we are talking about today. So what is this Oman Future Framework and why it is so important? You have to understand that it is so important that even the World Economic Forum has done the partnership with them. They find that it is something which is very, very logical, and this can be implemented in other countries as well if it is successful in Oman. So Oman framework works on a very simple method. It says that we need to go for a public-private partnership for skilling programs by the private sector by form of partnership, apprenticeship, coordination, curricular guidance, career guidance, joint research projects, and all the kind of other things. So what they are basically trying to do is that they are saying that there has to be a very strong link between the industry and academia. Why? Because the academia is producing that kind of workforce that are not needed by the industry. And what happens is when the workforce, they join the industry, the sectors, they are pushed to give them additional training. Now, when you require the workforce to be given additional training, it means that somewhere the education program through which they have undergone, it is not sufficient. And that is the reason what now the future framework is saying is that the industries, they should give the requirements to the academia, and academia need to produce the workforce as per the requirement of the industry. So there will be no demand and supply gap. The industries will get those workforce which are ready to work, join from day one and start working from day one. So that is what the vision is. It is very ambitious vision, but they have tried to make it a very, very feasible one. There's a framework by which they want to do it. So what they do is there is a kind of a feedback from the industry that most of the employees today, they lack critical thinking. They cannot communicate easily. They have no problem solving skills. They cannot work collaboratively, and they cannot change. They cannot adopt to change in themselves. So there is a soft skill, technical skill, and hard skills that need to be incorporated, and thus this whole framework has been introduced. So what they say is that the whole technique framework is divided into three parts: the basic skills, applied skills, and technical skills. So what they say is that the basic skill is the language and mathematics skill. So technically they say that a person should know at least 2 languages. Ideally for a country like India and other places, the person should know at least 3 languages. One should be the regional language, one should be mostly spoken national language, which can be made use of, and one international language. So in case of Oman, they have identified 2 languages, that is Arabic and English, considering the country that we belong to. And then they talk about the mathematical skills, that is very important. Then they talk about the applied skills, which talks about creativity and innovation, critical thinking, problem solving, effective communication, teamwork, leadership, initiative, flexibility, and adaptability. And then comes about the technical skills, where they talk about information and communication technology, dealing with data and information, and dealing with media. So this is the Oman Future Skill Framework, and how it is going to lead to the health sector that we will be start looking at today. So this is where we were talking about that our childhood. When I'm talking about our childhood, I'm talking about my childhood actually. That we were watching most of the science fiction movies our childhood, and we used to think that this never happens in reality. But if you see today, many of them have turned into reality. I remember we used to get mesmerized when the automatic doors used to open in the sci-fi movie. Now we have automatic doors, it is very common everywhere. We have video conferencing right in our phones right now. So what happened is that what is happening right now is that whatever we were fantasizing in the past, that has become a reality. And that is something which we are going to talk about today also. Just whatever you are fantasizing right now about the future, that is the future that we have to be prepared for. So what people do is that they envision something and they start striving, working towards it. So if we have to understand, we need to agree about one thing, that nature is ahead of us. And our science and technology, it is creating a new breakthrough things. But just imagine, despite all the advanced mechanism that we have, we could not predict coronavirus. And we have the limitations. It means that somewhere the science and technology, despite the fact it is moving at a very fast pace, it is not fast enough to take care of the new and upcoming threats that we are going to get exposed to. And India was one of the centers for the Delta variant of coronavirus, and we all have witnessed the kind of destruction this particular virus has brought into. So we have to be prepared in the health sector for even more advancement. But I'll be showing you what things have done, and COVID has actually come as a kind of blessings for many of the things, because COVID has changed the world. Otherwise, we would not have changed. So it has actually triggered the technological advances now. So the world was not ready to embrace the digital technology the way it is embracing right now. And somewhere the credit entirely goes to coronavirus. So after COVID-19, the world is exactly not going to be the same. Now, for example, when we were before COVID-19, we were granted air tickets to attend even small meeting, which were going to be of 5 or 10 minutes hardly. Now, for every small meeting, we are encouraged to attend it online. Now, for example, if this conference, just before coronavirus, if this conference would have been arranged, just imagine about the cost that your department would have been spending in inviting people across the globe to attend this conference. Now, thanks to coronavirus, that I can do it right sitting here. I'm sitting in my office right now, and I can do this conference as well. So there are some of the things that has changed the world and that has accelerated several aspects. We have to agree to it. So now universities, they are promoting online teaching and learning. Companies, they are talking about remote work. Medical sciences, they are doing telemedicine. They are prescribing medicines on the WhatsApp. So we need to thank about internet infrastructure and applications and devices that we have today. And that has actually enabled us to use what we are doing. So what is telemedicine, which I'm talking right now, is that it is using the practice of giving medicine through technology. Now you can see there are two things. Earlier, the doctors, sometimes when you had to refer to an expert who is sitting in America, you have to personally visit him so that he can check you up. Now, if you see in case of optometry, for example, the person is sitting in India, and you can see that the eye testing device is connected with a mobile phone camera, and the doctor who is sitting in a remote place, he can have the view of the eye right sitting on his office on his screen. So this is what the new advents are now coming up. Okay, so now you don't have to recruit regular doctors or experts visiting your offices. They can do it right sitting anywhere, anytime. So now we are not restricted by the office hours. We are not restricted by the OPD hours. We are not restricted by the geographical locations. There are so many things which can happen remotely as well. The same thing happens with online and teaching learning approaches. Many people were thinking that, okay, in health sciences, how we are going to do online and teaching? Because we need people to meet. If the healthcare workers will not see the patients, how they are going to do things. And that's where there were so many things have happened that there were apprehensions with the people that the students require clinical trials, they require the patients, they require to see them, they require to meet them. Otherwise, how they will understand the patient, because ultimately we are dealing with human bodies. That's where the virtual reality simulators came into picture. Now, the virtual reality simulators, what it does is that it helps you to understand your patient virtually. And there are videos which you can watch on YouTube as well, that to understand how it is happening. And there are incorporations of AI. Now, artificial intelligence is something which is really changing the world. For example, earlier when the microscopes, the people were manually detecting the defective cells through microscope, there were limitations of human being, because sometimes the human eye cannot differentiate between colors. There are certain colors, there are certain fluids that human eye cannot differentiate. And that's where artificial intelligence is now coming into picture. Artificial intelligence is far more effective in identifying cancers at a very early stage as compared to the previous methods. Now we are now artificial intelligence, when it is backed with human intelligence, it becomes a super intelligence actually. And that is where the entire phenomena in case of things are happening. Now, we were talking about robots in the past. Now we have invisible robots already at our homes like Alexa and Siri. What they do is they are understanding us, they are collecting data, they are learning us, they are analyzing us, and they are getting smarter day by day. They know our preferences. And we were talking about the physical robots, and physical robots are becoming a reality now. Now we have Google, Facebook, and we have the manufacturing units using robots. Already so many units. Somebody was talking about the automobile sector in the QA session, and most of the automobile sector, it is using the robots for the manufacturing purposes. The same thing is going to get applied in case of the healthcare sector as well. One of the very important aspect of healthcare workers for those of you who are from business sciences. Number one, we have to understand that healthcare is something which is not monopolized by somebody who is having a medical degree. If you visit a hospital, or if you see the healthcare sector as a whole, it requires people from all walk of life, including finance and audit as well, somewhere where the commerce students can fit in. It also requires a receptionist, somewhere where the communication people can fit in. So it requires people from all walks of life. And that's where the financial and audit reports are going to play a role, because whenever you take your patient to a hospital, one of the concerns is the cost that is going to get incorporated. Unfortunately, not every country is blessed enough to avail free medical facilities. So this is also becoming one of the things. There is something called as virtual nursing also, where you can take the help of a nurse and virtually you can take care of the first aid and other things as well. We also have the artificial intelligence. Just imagine its power. It is working in case of cooking, hazardous situation like fighting robots, handling radioactive waste, which is part of the hospital management as well. So if you still look into the medical sciences, you will find that this particular paper, I have given the screenshot here. So this paper talks about the AI sensitivity, and it is especially in case of ophthalmology, and talks about that how AI sensitivity can take care of various kind of things. So it is able to diagnose the issues far better than the traditional methods. So it is same thing is happening in case of social sciences as well. AI is going to understand our behavior. It is going to understand the diagnosis and predictions of different conditions. As previous speaker was talking about, that there are many diseases which is related to your lifestyle. It is not really related to your dysfunctioning of some organs. It is affected because of your lifestyle. So the AI helps to understand your lifestyle and can give you alarm, because many times people are not aware that they are becoming ill or they are becoming sick because of a particular kind of lifestyle that they are maintaining, including diabetes. So there are so many things in which AI is now working, and therefore many people, they have the apprehension that AI will surpass our intelligence, and there were movies like Matrix and all. So we have the solutions for it. We don't have to worry about it. If the technology is coming in, we are the creator of the technology, and somewhere we know how to control it. There are mechanisms already that we are going to do for it. There is another thing which is now coming up, which is brain-computer interfaces, where there are devices which you can control through your minds and thoughts. Now, why I'm saying this is because this is going to be a breakthrough technology for the future surgeries which might happen, where the doctor who is an expert sitting in a remote place can perform surgeries by using brain with computer interference. Something which is going to happen, and this is another thing which most of you must be knowing about Elon Musk's company, that is Neuralink, where your brain is going to get linked up with the computer interface, and it will give the signal to the computer interface about the issues that your body is facing, including the issues that your body is facing, means your brain is facing inside, including the Alzheimer's diseases. One of the studies that we also get conducted, there were so many issues that brain is doing for the social sciences as well. And we are going to look into the aspects like focus, concentrations, etc. Then you must be knowing about 3D printing. So 3D printing is right now used in automobile and fashion accessory. What if I tell you that 3D printing can be done for human organs? Let me see if I can play this video for you so that you can have something. So this is a small video which I want you to watch. Sorry. So now just imagine if this technology becomes a common technology and we all are able to use it. We don't really have to wait for a donor. And just imagine all the organ related crimes can get stopped, because right now the human trafficking that is happening because of where the kidneys and the other organs are stolen, that can be taken care of by this kind of technology. So even now we have the technology where the organs can be printed. Now the medical students who complain about that they don't get exposed to the real organs and they don't know how to deal with them, because sometimes in case of India, it is a common complaint of the student that sometimes they don't get bodies to study on. So this is going to be a technology which is going to act as a simulator as well, where you can get exposed to the bodies, body parts and other things. So this is the next level of in medical sciences. So we are going to find it very common thing in future where the oculoplastic surgery can happen. So there is a lot of scope for each one of us which is going to happen. There is something called as the living robots, where we use the real living tissues. It can be injected inside the body to cure certain things. So for example, there is a stem cell from frog. So what they do is that we can convert them into blobs and then it can take care of the things. How it functions is, they are not robots, they are not animals, they are tiny programmable things which can be inserted and they can work independently, and even they can work as a team as well. So they have the self-healing properties, they can remove plaque from human arteries, they can carry medicine to the different part of the bodies. So these are the futures that we are talking about right now. For example, if you see, in case of optometry perspective especially, so you can have this kind of access, that there are certain things which is challenging, of course, but the way the world is evolving right now, it is something that we have to really praise the modern technology. And this is something that we all have to see. So in the interest of time, I'll just shorten my whole thing into a few slides, which is very important. I'll talk about the augmented reality, which is now talking about the way we can really make something which is virtually present, but you can take the benefits, you can almost feel it like it is real in the physical world. And one of the things which I have already seen is like in Pokemon games, where you have already witnessed that how the augmented reality can. So these are some of the things which is now happening in. There's another technology which is going to change the way ambulance service were given, the emergency services, and that is Hyperloop. Sometimes when you require some patient to be shipped from, let's say, to be transported from, let's say, Chennai to Delhi for a better service, or for vice versa from Delhi to Chennai, you can use this technology that is Hyperloop, which is going to happen in India very soon. And it is very fast journey where the journeys that take hours can be covered in minutes. So this is another going to be something which is going to come up with a very breakthrough technology in the healthcare sector. So there are other things as well, like the analytics, whatever we are doing in case of our day-to-day life, it can be tracked and supported by way of analytics. Whatever things we are doing in case of the footfalls of the people who are coming to our place and we don't know whether they are really our customers or not, we can do conversion optimization by gathering their data. And there are many tools which are associated with us. And we can use emails as a business students, and we are going to do certain things. There is one of the aspects which I often say, especially for the business students and economics students, that there is something called as remarketing. Remarketing is a new term which is now evolving up, and where what happens is that you give your demand or you give your needs on one particular website, you switch on a new website, and suddenly you will find that all the things, whatever you punch in the previous site, it all started popping up there. For example, if you put about Dubai trip, and you are interested in visiting Dubai, and you put a Dubai trip on one of the travel website, and suddenly you switch into Facebook, you will find that your Facebook will start popping up with the similar ads leading to Dubai trip. What happens is that it is actually marking your digital footprints, and it is giving you something. So the same thing can be used in case of the healthcare sector as well. And one of the very powerful device that we all are carrying, which has a lot of potential, is our mobile phones. This is a device which you are carrying all the time with us, and this has a lot of potential with regards to healthcare sector as well. Most of the mobile phones now, they can count your steps, they can at least analyze your calorie burn. Now, what about the future technology where your mobile phone can talk about your pulse rate, where your mobile phone can detect your heartbeat, where your mobile phone can detect your blood pressure? So this technology is already there, and if it is integrated in our mobile phone, the better health perspective can be taken up. There could be future technology where we can have bloodless blood tests as well. So now, for those of you who are in business, we are looking for business automation, and business automation and integration of health sector. It is going to be the future, because in future, it is all going to be interdisciplinary. It is not going to be a very, very specialized phenomenon, because the knowledge society will develop in such a way that everybody will be having exposure to the basic knowledge of a particular field. So that's how things are going to happen. We all have seen work from home also. This is going to stay. So work from home is going to stay here. Now, what are we going to do now? I'll be briefly talking about this learning journey, because this is something that we all have to see and avail, that whatever we are talking about right now, it looks complicated, but we all have to call ourselves, we have to imagine ourselves just before COVID. Before COVID, we were not the digital community. We were not using the digital platform the way we are using it today. So we were a community. We were asked to enter into a new community where we had some resistance, we had some problems, we had the issues, but we were getting the helpers also within the environment. So there were people who were helping us, there were videos that were helping us, there were some of the learning platforms that were helping, and then there were revelations that, this is what, it is so easy. Let's explore more opportunities into it. And when the opportunities were explored, we found more rewards, and suddenly we changed. The same thing is going to happen with these technologies as well. We will be forced sometime, or sometime by choice, we'll be entering into this community, and there will be revolutions, there will be rewards, there will be change, and then we will be from unknown sector, we will become the known segment. So we'll become a community of known people. So we need to welcome international competition as well. We don't have to avoid it. Many people today, they are thinking that we have to domesticate everything. It's not a thing. The world has to live as a world family instead of being divided into communities and nations. So we have to welcome the international competition. We have to use technology wisely, and we have to become more socially responsible. So with this, thank you so much for lending me your ears. Sorry, I had to make it a bit fast because I have a meeting. So My best wishes with all of you, and thank you so much again for giving me this lovely opportunity. Over to you, organizers.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wise words.
Thank you so much. If there are any quick questions, we can take it. Otherwise, I'll have to rush for a meeting which is waiting for me. I'm getting messages. So if you have any quick questions that I can take care.
Audience can take up the mic for any questions.
Can I ask a question?
Most welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sat, for that very informative sharing. I would like to know whether you have information as to the progress and situation in India with how far it is moving towards making the futuristic medical treatment, as in providing prosthetic care, for example, for the elderly, more affordable, and whether the technology and also the learning has already moved in par with what's like what you just mentioned, that everything is going digital, futuristic, and things like that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I must say about one thing. When I talk about India, I will not be talking about India as a country. I'll be talking about Indians and the community, because most of the technologies that we are talking about right now, because I'm also an Indian who is working in Oman, and we don't have to discount on the contributions of Indians which is happening across the globe. All these technologies which I was just mentioning, I must mention that most of the people who are spearheading these technologies, they are Indians. And somewhere we have to acknowledge this fact as well. So India is no longer a country defined by the territorial boundary. India is more a country which is represented as a community ideology. So this is one thing that we have to consider. One thing in which the India is really going forward, in which the world is lacking right now, is that India is going to offer the most affordable medical or healthcare facilities in future. For example, the pharmaceutical. Majority of the pharmaceutical, around 40% of the pharmaceutical in the world is manufactured by Indian companies, and they are considered to be far more affordable as compared to any other pharmaceutical sectors in any country. So that is the reason now the world has to seriously think. Most of the countries who are trying to develop their own pharmaceutical sectors, they have to think whether it is really feasible to come up with your own pharmaceutical sectors, because what happens is that pharmaceutical requires a kind of scale, and that scale is not possible unless and until you have a population. Most of the country, why the reasons why their medicines are expensive is because they cannot play in terms of scale, and India has a potential. So India can become a global pharmaceutical exporter. It is already, but it needs to grow more. Further, the medical services, if you see, most of India is the largest supplier of healthcare workers across the globe. And this is where we have to understand that as the workforce technology that we are talking about today, we don't have to prepare a workforce specifically to the needs of India. We have to prepare a workforce considering the global requirement, because that's where the healthcare worker will come into picture. The problem that India is facing right now is that there are certain type of apprehensions and myth that healthcare sector has to be dominated by the healthcare degree holders. And that is something which is wrong, because there are certain elements in the healthcare sector as well, which can be taken up by the economics students, which can be taken up by the business students. And there are certain things, there are certain trainings that can be even done. Somebody who is not having a medical degree, still he can become a medical practitioner by having certain kinds of skills and something. For example, physiotherapy. Physiotherapy requires some basic kind of education, and then you can take up we can become a therapist. So we have to explore ourselves and being a population of such a diverse kind of people and all those things. We have to develop ourselves as well. Few good news about India is the Ayush that is happening right now, that India is exploring itself in the alternative medicines as well. It is not looking into the conventional medicines, which is allopathy right now. It is looking into Ayurvedic, Yoga, Siddha, Unani as well. So these are some of the things that we have to look into, and these are the things which needs to get promoted, and it has to be patronized by the Indian embassies across the world. I hope I have answered your query.
Thank you, Doctor.
My pleasure.
Thank you, sir, for making us aware of technological progress in health sector. I am Akshya from second BA Economics. My question is, sir, is there any physical robots have played a major role during COVID-19? If so, could you name some?
The physical robots, we have to understand what these robots are. For example, when I say robots, most of the people, they imagine about Chiddi in Rajnikant's movie. So it's not a humanoid version of something. Whatever thing is automated becomes a robot. So it is the robotic arm, it can be the robotic microscope, it can be anything which is not controlled manually. Anything which is automatic can be called robots. So there have been many surgical procedures. Even today, there are many surgical procedures which are using some sort of robotic arms. There are some certain levels of robotics which is used. So we don't really have to imagine a human version or the humanoid version of robots when you're talking about robots right now. So robots are already working. There are many forms of robots. But yes, this technology is further going to get advanced. This technology, there are researchers which are researching on it, and this technology there could be a Chiddi performing a surgical procedure in future. We cannot underestimate on that. But right now, the robotics is already in practice. It's widely used. Those of you who have doctor's friend, you can ask them. There are a lot of robotics which is in use right now. If I can tell you some of the small examples, CT scan is also kind of robotics. If you look into the definitions of robotics. So there are a lot of things which is happening right now already.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your astute words. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. So wish you all have a very lovely day ahead. I'll have to take your leave. Thank you so much for inviting me here. My best wishes are always with you. So thank you so much. Sincere gratitude.
One and everyone gathered here. This is the meal time now. We will resuming here by 2 p.m. After that, you will be informed where to go and present the paper.
Now it's time for lunch break. So you can go and have your lunch in the dining hall, college dining hall. And you have to reassemble in the same hall at 2 p.m. Please adhere to the time. You have to reassemble here by 2 p.m.